Transformers, I want you to look at, in preparation for your end of quarter testing and wrapping up the first quarter here at Kennedy on Transformer Hall. I wanted you guys to do your review on Edmodo in two different parts. The first part that we're going to review has to do with the genre of fiction, and when we spoke about literary elements, when we talked about the genre of fiction. Some of the selections that we read, you'll remember, was The Day Jimmy's Boa Ate the Wash, Noisy Nora, Chrysanthemum, Super Fudge. Okay, we read about Peter and Fudge, and then also we looked at a couple of other stories in your textbook, like the 1159, that was kind of a horror short story, as well as the romantic story that we read about Jimmy Valentine and Annabelle, and about his life as a safecracker. So I want you to kind of think back to those stories, think about how different they were. They were all within the genre of fiction, and more specifically what we were talking about when we looked at those stories were the literary elements that we found in those stories. So I want you to look a little closer, and I'm going to actually bring you in to look at it. I want you to look a little closer at the board. Okay, and I've made a board for you that actually shows the elements that we spoke about. Okay, you're looking at setting, the time and place that the story takes place, the characters that are in the story, which would be the people or animals in the story, the plot, which is very important. Don't forget that the plot is the sequence of events as they happen, and that would be the order of events in the story. Now remember, that starts from the very beginning of the story, and it moves through to the climax, which is your most exciting part, the turning point of the story, where you're absolutely sure at that point how the outcome is going to look at the end of that story. And then also don't forget that the plot includes your last event, which is your resolution. One important aspect to remember as we move through this review is point of view, the perspective from which the story is told. Please don't confuse those with the two different types of point of view that we spoke about, which is first-person point of view and then third-person point of view. Point of view, the very basic definition of point of view is basically the perspective from which the story is told, and then we spoke about first-person point of view, which is told by the character in the story in their own voice. And if you'll remember, in The Day Jimmy's Boa Ate the Wash, most of you will remember that the little girl was telling the story to her mother. Since she's the character in the story, that story is narrated from first-person point of view. However, we also looked at third-person point of view, which is told by the narrator outside the story. And if you remember the story of Chrysanthemum and the story of the 1159, those stories were told by a narrator that was outside the story. And an example of that would be looking back at the first couple of lines of the story, where the narrator says, "A long time ago in a land far away," or they're talking about someone, about their life, and using the words he, she, and it. That would indicate to you that a story is in third-person point of view. And last but not least, please don't forget theme. Theme is not to be confused with the plot. Theme is the life lesson. What could the reader learn about life from reading the story? Okay? So please review these on the board, and please think about them as you move through the assignment. The assignment, let me put it back. The assignment is asking you, I promised you some ghost stories, and I promised you some stories that were connected to literature that were also a little spooky. So we're going to look at The Black Cat by Edgar Allan Poe, and you have everything that you need on Edmodo to complete this review. So what I want you to do is to actually follow the instructions step by step, click on the links, and complete the review according to those steps on the computer. Okay, we'll work on this in class, and then you also work on it a little bit at home. So like I said, the main thing that I want you to focus on is making sure you follow the steps so you can get all parts of the assignment in. Okay? All right, have fun with it, and if you have any questions, we'll talk about it further in class. Thank you.